How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. Y'all, we got to start with the Iran update today. We'll get to the Supreme Court decision here shortly. Very big decision in the U.S. Supreme Court. Tie it into what's happening in the NBA. But first, we got to start with this report from the New York Times that shows just how divided the Iranian regime is. If you want to text Eric to 33777, E-R-I-C-K to 33777, very first link will be the show notes, and you can see this link in there. This is the headline from the New York Times today. Iran's fractured leadership is struggling to coordinate, officials say. As leaders are killed and replaced, according to the subtitle, Iranian negotiators may not know what their government is willing to concede in any negotiations. It turns out that Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu decapitated so thoroughly the senior level Iranian leadership on the first day of this attack on Iran that the government has been in disarray since and has been struggling to rebuild itself. And every time they rebuild itself, it then collapses again because we kill the next line of leadership. We're on the third and fourth team. This is a multi-person story out of the New York Times. The U.S.-Israeli war against Iran has fractured the Iranian government, complicating its ability to make decisions and coordinate larger retaliatory attacks, according to officials familiar with U.S. and Western intelligence assessments. Several dozen Iranian leaders and their deputies have been killed since the war began 4 weeks ago. Those who survive had had difficulty communicating and are unable to meet in person for fear of having their calls intercepted by the United States or Israel and being targeted in an airstrike. While Iran's security and military agencies continue to function, the government's ability to plan new strategies or policies has been weakened. The Trump administration has said a new government is in charge in Iran and has pressed it to make a quick deal, but the more degraded Iranian government decision-making becomes, the more difficult it is for it to negotiate. What is more, American officials say hardliners within the IRGC have become more influential, exerting more power. Iran's compromised communications have caused confusion and paranoia among the surviving government leaders who fear their calls and messages are being intercepted. As a result, they've been reluctant to make calls, according to officials briefed. Israel began the war with a strike on the leadership compound that killed the leader and senior level leaders. A number of lower level officials seen as pragmatic were also killed. Not only that, a senior U.S. military official says Iran's command and control has been badly degraded. The officials said a senior intelligence officer said before the war, Iran built a decentralized control system that allowed local commanders in different regions of the country to make their own strikes, even in absence of day-to-day orders. However, the United States is targeting those leaders, and Iran, while it can launch substantial offensive strikes, is struggling to retaliate and launch coordinated significant strikes. This should be good news. Ladies and gentlemen, contrary to what you may see on social media and even hear on television, we have degraded Iran's ability to strike, to counter-strike, to coordinate strikes. Listen to this from the New York Times. Given the decimation of its leadership, again, the decimation, they're using it wrong, but nonetheless, given the decimation of its leadership, former U.S. officials say Iran has been unable to launch larger barrages of missiles that could more easily overwhelm defenses. Instead, regional commands have had to muster counterattacks without coordinating with one another. Question. Isn't this good news? Hello? We have degraded Iran's capability to make war so thoroughly that the strikes that Iran is operating against us are so poorly coordinated they can't mount a large counterattack. The United States can only confirm that we have wiped out a third of Iran's missile capability, and yet they can't coordinate a massive large-scale strike because the local and regional commanders can't coordinate with each other. They're too scared to get on the phone, and the governmental and police state leadership can't talk to each other because they know they'll die. How is this not a victory? Well, I will tell you how, courtesy of the New York Times. All the leadership is dead, so how can they coordinate peace? That's the spin. That's it, the spin. Not only that, the Financial Times claims that Iran is going to emerge out of this even stronger. Because their hackers have gone to war, Iran could emerge from the war stronger and more dangerous. You got that? That's the spin. That's the Financial Times. That's the opinion of the Financial Times. Ladies and gentlemen, I have made this point before, but I must make this point again. The pundits, the experts, the prognosticators who know Iran knew the prior leadership of Iran. They knew the talking points of the prior leadership. They knew the sound bites of the prior leadership. They knew all of those things. And so they regurgitate those things now as if they were still talking to the dead men. The dead men have no opinion on the current state of Iran, and yet the experts who explain to you what's happening from the Iranian perspective know no other people to talk to because all the people they talk to are dead. As a result, we get the same regurgitated talking points. We have decapitated the leadership of Iran. We have divided the government. We have taken out regional commanders of the government to the extent they can't coordinate, they can't launch missiles, they can't figure out what's next. And lo and behold, the expert class says, this means Iran is winning. This is the only war in the history of global warfare where the more you die, the more likely you are to come out ahead and win. Can you imagine World War II? We drop bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they're like, oh, Japan's going to win. We just vaporized millions of them, and that means they're going to come out ahead. They're going to win. I'm just amazed. Absolutely amazed. This is where we are. Folks, the President of the United States is winning a war. And the best the Iranians can do is AI videos. Today, the Iranian military media released a picture of a rocket or a missile they intend to fire at the Americans, and they have written "No Kings" on it. The No Kings protests in solidarity with the Iranians. The Iranian spokesman is out there on social media saying, because you targeted our leaders' private residences and families, all your leaders in the region will now be targeted in their private residences as well. We're going to see some spectacular new AI videos, aren't we? we have, friends, done an incredible job thus far in this war. There has never been a war on planet Earth where on the first day of the war, the leadership of the enemy were wiped out completely. There's never been a war. In world history, we have never had a war where on the first day of the war, the entire leadership was wiped out, at least in modern times. And the expert class, they don't know what to do with it. They have no idea how to process what is happening. They have no idea how to analyze a war where the leaders on the side that they're used to talking to are all dead, so they've got nothing. They have no idea how to talk to those people. They have no idea how to find the replacements. They can't talk to the replacements because the replacements are scared to get on the phone. So the best the media can do is regurgitate this. You and I are as expert now on the situation in Iran as the expert class on television, in colleges and universities, in the printed press, and on radio and the internet. We know as much about Iran right now as the expert class on Iran does, because the people they are used to talking to are all dead. So the New York Times runs an amazing story about how the Iranian government is now so destabilized. The president of Iran is signaling that that economy is on the verge of collapse. He expects that within the next 3 weeks, Iran will collapse. And so the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has told the man, you are not allowed to do anything, say anything, or engage in negotiations because you'll give away everything. Because of the state of the economic collapse of Iran, the soldiers are not getting paid. Think about this. The president of Iran says that the Iranian economy will collapse in the next 3 weeks. There will be nothing left of the economy. And the IRGC leadership is saying, well, you're not allowed to negotiate. You'll give away the game. So if the president of Iran says they're going to collapse in the next 3 weeks, can we not wait for the next 3 weeks before we surrender this thing? Because the press and the experts insist we need to surrender now. We got to surrender immediately. Surrender is the only option. We got to find a favorable terms of peace from Iran so they don't kill us all. That's the view of the press. That is the view of the expert class. Jack Prendelli, who is a guy who is an expert on global commodities. He pointed out that 3 months after we got rid of Maduro, Venezuela is now selling oil to China again at full market price. They don't get a discount anymore. 4.6 million barrels per day to China has been disrupted because of the Karg Island situation. The Strait of Hormuz is blocked. Bab el-Mandab is an alternate route for oil that is on the south end of the Red Sea, and the Houthis are firing missiles. China imports 11.31 million barrels of oil today. Every discount supplier is offline. Every single route is threatened. This is what the United States has done to China by virtue of dealing with Iran. And yet the Financial Times wants you to believe that China and Iran are going to come out stronger from this. They're going to come out ahead. They're going to come out the winners. It's pretty clear the expert class is just rooting against the United States. It's pretty clear the expert class wants us to lose. It's pretty clear the expert class hopes for the destruction of Donald Trump, and they can't bring themselves to report good news, because if they reported the good news, you would realize that, wow, things are actually going pretty good in the Middle East right now. The Iranians are losing thousands and thousands of people, soldiers, active duty military combatants, generals, and politicians, and the United States is not. More people have been killed in Chicago in the past month than Americans have died fighting Iran. And the media doesn't want you to know it. And now we have the good news, the confirmation. The Iranian government is crumbling. The economy is on the verge of collapse. The military leadership is in disarray. And the spin from the press is this is bad news for America. Why exactly is it bad news that we're accomplishing the goal of wiping out the Iranian regime? It's only bad news because a lot of the pundits in the press are no longer going to get Iranian paychecks. Hello there and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. 877-973-7425 is the phone number if you want to be on the program. Here's a bizarre story for you. This is just kind of weird. In Providence, Rhode Island, someone has painted on the side of a building a mural honoring Irina Zaritska. Irina Zaritska is the young woman who in Charlotte, North Carolina, was murdered by a man who had gotten out of jail, who was clearly disturbed. She was a Ukrainian refugee who sought a life in Charlotte, North Carolina, away from the war. Someone painted a mural of her on the side of a building in Providence, Rhode Island, and the local government is forcing the people who painted it on the side of the building to erase it. This is Democrat David Morales, who is a state representative in Rhode Island.
Ultimately, we want to make sure that every community member that calls Providence home feels safe. And we can both agree that this mural behind us does not reflect Providence's values, nor does it reflect the creativity that we want to see in our city.
It doesn't reflect our creativity or our values. A mural honoring a Ukrainian refugee who was murdered in the United States doesn't make people feel safe in the city and doesn't honor the values of that city. This is a little bit weird, is it not? Odd. The Democrats in Providence, Rhode Island, are destroying a mural on a private building, no less, that honored a murdered woman because they want people to feel safe. Is there any reason people are running away from the Democratic Party? I actually have a lot of data when we come back that turns out people don't like Donald Trump, but they are scared of the Democrats. Now, I got to tell you about my perfectly snug mattress topper. Well, Erickson, why are you selling a mattress topper? Because I love it, and you will too. I was looking at some of these because, my wife likes it. It's weird. My wife in the wintertime is always hot, and I'm cold, and in the summertime, she's cold, and I'm hot. I don't understand why women are like this, where in the season of it being hot, they're cold, and in the season of being cold, they're hot. I don't get it. That's where we are. So this perfectly snug mattress topper, you can be warm, she can be cold, or vice versa. It regulates your temperature during the night, so you're not overly hot, you're not overly cold. You sleep perfectly, except I was sleep deprived last night, and it went because of the mattress topper. You can go to perfectlysnug.com/Eric and check this thing out. You save like $280 if you go to perfectlysnug.com/Eric, and you get this mattress topper. There are some, I've been looking at them for a while, and they're like thousands of dollars. Some of these. Perfectly Snug is not. It's reasonably priced. And some of them use water, and over time they can leak and get your mattress wet and can get moldy. And Perfectly Snug doesn't do that. It uses fans and wires to cool and to heat. It is well made, well priced. Perfectlysnug.com/Eric. You and your spouse can have different temperature settings. They can turn on automatically, regulate you through the night. Perfectlysnug.com/Eric. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. There's been a mass casualty event happen in the last little while in Russia. One of their largest petrochemical complexes, one of the largest in the country, has blown up. Ukrainian drones have struck it, limiting Russia's ability to refine oil and produce oil byproducts. It's going to be smelly in that area. They probably should get themselves some Eden Pure Thunderstorms to get rid of the diesel and gas and explosive smell. You can get 3 Eden Pure Thunderstorms and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is Eric3. They have a money-back guarantee if they don't actually wipe out the odor. See the site for details on that. They get rid of dust, particulate floating in the air. They don't use filters. You don't have to keep buying filters. No filter subscription. They get rid of 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. And they eliminate all odors. They really work. They produce ozone. It's like odor bleach. Wipes them out. You get 3 of them, upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV, wherever you need them. If they don't wipe out odors, you get a money-back guarantee. What more could you ask for? EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. That's Eden like the Garden of Eden. Pure as the driven snow. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code ERIC3, ERICK, the number 3, no space. Wipe out your odors today. Even those of you in Russia could probably get these things and wipe out the stinky odors of the Putin regime. Now, we must pivot. As I mentioned, I want to just be open, frank, and honest with you. And some of you won't like it. And some of you will try to navigate around it and wish it all away. You should deal with reality as it is, not as the way you want it. And that is that a majority of Americans really don't like Donald Trump right now. They don't like high gas prices. They think the Iranian regime should be destroyed. Americans like to have their cake and eat it too. They think Iran is bad and should be destroyed. And also Donald Trump is bad for doing it because gas prices have gone up. That's just reality. Accept reality. That Americans, they don't like the Iranians. They're perfectly happy to destroy the Iranians, but also they want things cheap, and Donald Trump hasn't delivered, and therefore he's bad. It's his fault. They don't like him. Plus, he always leaves people in a sense of existential dread that he's going to tweet us into World War 50,000, and they don't like that. So his popularity is down into the 30s right now. That's not good for the midterms. However, this is the side that the people who want you to know Americans don't like Donald Trump don't want you to talk about. Americans positively hate the Democrats. Donald Trump may not be popular, but Americans would rather Donald Trump than the Democrats. Not only that, Americans would rather a sexually transmitted disease than the Democrats. Americans would rather death than the Democrats. Americans would rather many, many terrible things than the Democrats. They may take the House of Representatives. The way redistricting works in the country, it'll be close, but they may take it, but Americans simply don't like them. And now YouGov has produced some new polling, the change in partisan composition of major demographic groups in the United States. This is the run-up into 2025. The only group that has shifted towards the Democrats is white men with college degrees. White men with college degrees support the Democratic Party by a 3-point margin. White men with college degrees. That's it. Now, other groups do support people with college degrees. Hispanics and blacks do support the Democrats, except they're rapidly turning against the Democrats. So a white man with no college degree has now shifted 23 points away from the Democrats. And a white woman with no college degree has shifted 20 points away from the Democrats. It doesn't help when you have people like Jimmy Kimmel at night on television mocking Mark Wayne Mullen for not having a college degree and being a plumber. Among white people with college degrees, white men with college degrees support the Democrats by 3 points, and white women with college degrees support the Democrats by 8 points, but that's from 19 points. They've gone from a plus 19 to plus 8 for white women college degrees. Even white women with college degrees are starting to get turned off by the Democrats. But let me give you some of the numbers here to put this in perspective. Hispanic men with no college degrees favor the Democrats by 9 points, but that's from 23 points. They've declined now to only 9-point support. And Hispanic men with college degrees have gone from 23 plus for Democrats to 13 plus for Democrats. Hispanic women with no college degrees they support Democrats by 17%, but they used to support them by 35%. Hispanic women with college degrees support the Democrats by 28 points over the GOP, but they used to be at 53 points. Black men with no college degree used to support the Democrats by 70 points, now only by 44. And young black men with no college degrees are almost tied between Republicans and Democrats. Black men with college degrees used to support Democrats by 64 points. Now it's only 49 points. Black women with no college degrees were 83, now only 59. And black women with college degrees were 82 and now 65. So the group most likely to support the Democrats are black women. What has happened? This data comes from the Cooperative Election Survey, 2007 to 2025. The estimated percent of each group that identifies or leans towards the Democratic Party minus the percent that identifies or leans towards the Republican Party from the 2007-2009 period to the 2023 to 2025 period. There has been a massive shift towards the GOP. In every single group except one, white men with college degrees. Why? When you pull the curtain back on the data, do you know what you find? People are scared of the Democratic Party. People don't like Donald Trump. You may like Donald Trump. And, you know, I get this all the time. Callers, I'll get it from emailers. I don't know anybody who doesn't like Donald Trump. He says, you're never Trump. Well, get out of your bubble, people. Get out of your bubble. Most people, they're probably not telling you what they actually think because they know how diehard MAGA you are. They don't want to be honest with you. The people in this country, a majority of them simply don't like Donald Trump, but they prefer him to the Democrats, and you can't take the win on that. You're so hostile to the idea that people may not like your precious that you can't understand that there are things people don't like in the world that they still prefer to other things they positively hate. People don't like Donald Trump, but they hate the Democrats. That's actually good for you. Own it. Be nice. Love those people and maybe change their mind instead of yelling at them. People hate the Democratic Party. And do you know why they hate the Democratic Party? If you're just tuning in, let me play you this clip again of a Democrat state representative in Providence, Rhode Island.
Ultimately, we want to make sure that every community member that calls Providence home feels safe. And we can both agree that this mural behind us does not reflect Providence's values, nor does it reflect the creativity that we want to see in our city.
That is a state representative talking about tearing down a mural to Irina Zarutska that had been painted on a private building in Providence, Rhode Island, where the property owner has been told to take it down in violation of zoning ordinances because people won't feel safe to have a mural painted to honor a woman who was murdered. That's part of the problem. Democrats around the country hate Christians these days. Oh, you can say they don't, but you and I both know they do. In an 8-1 decision from the Supreme Court today, Colorado lost a case where the Democrats call it conversion therapy, where you might convince someone they're not trans or maybe they're not homosexual, they're heterosexual instead. It's actually a free speech case. Should a therapist be allowed to talk to their patient about difficult things? And the law in Colorado said no, and the Supreme Court said actually, yes, they can. The only one to oppose it was Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's an idiot. But when you point out she's an idiot, Democrats call you a racist. No, I don't care that she's black. I care that she's a moron. But the Democrats turn everything into a racial issue, and they try to silence people. The mayor of New York came out the other day, a fringe Jewish group tried to kill a Palestinian activist in New York who has called for the death of Jews and the overthrow of the American government. Let me unpack this for you. A fringe Jewish group that's actually listed as a terrorist group plotted to kill a Palestinian activist in New York. That Palestinian activist has called for the death of Jews and the overthrow of the United States government in favor of an Islamic regime. The mayor of New York came out forcefully and denounced the Jews for trying to kill the Palestinian activist. When Islamic activists threw an improvised explosive device into a crowd of anti-Islamic protesters in New York, the mayor did not condemn the terrorists. He condemned the anti-Islamic protesters. You see where this is headed? People understand where this is headed. The mayor of New York condemned by name Jews and refused to condemn Islamic terrorists. Instead, he condemned the white Americans who didn't want Sharia law in New York. It was somewhat of a silly protest, but that's where they were protesting. And the mayor attacked them, and the National Press Corps attacked them and claimed that the terrorist attack was against the mayor and his house. It wasn't. The press lied. Democrats in the United States can't tell you what a man and a woman are, and they want men to be in women's sports. They want boys to go in girls' locker rooms, and it's the girls who are the bad guys here, not the boys. Americans are pretty scared of giving Democrats enough power to make that actually happen. The Democratic Party in the United States right now is forcing you to be inconvenienced at airports and not paying TSA agents so that illegal aliens do not get deported from the United States. Americans are a little fearful of putting Democrats in charge and opening back up the border and letting people in. We've had a series of drones flying over American Air Force bases in the last week or two. We don't know who's flying the drones over the Air Force bases. The odds are it's people who are inside the country. Given the proximity and the size of the drones, who's ever flying them would have to be close to the Air Force bases. How did they get in the country? Probably open borders from the Democrats, and they want to go back to the open borders. And Americans are a little concerned about putting Democrats back in charge of that. Democrats want to push the trans agenda. Democrats want to silence and punish Christians. It's the Democrats who filed lawsuits to shut down Catholic charities and Catholic hospitals for refusing to do gay adoptions and abortions. It's the Democrats who want to shut down homeschools and homeschoolers. It's the Democrats who want to regulate private Christian schools and force them to embrace a government school accountability project. It's the Democrats who have ruined public schools and turned them into houses of indoctrination instead of education. It's the Democrats who have doubled down on protecting the teachers' unions. It's the Democrats who are on the side of criminal illegal aliens instead of American citizens. It's the Democrats who get upset when you mourn an American citizen murdered by an illegal alien. It's the Democrats who have provided sanctuary cities to the murderous illegal aliens. It's the Democrats who can't even say the names of the murdered Americans. It's the Democrats who want to destroy women's sports by allowing men to compete in them. It's the Democrats who have used the government to pressure religious people to be quiet on their views on biblical sexuality and creation. It's the Democrats who have used the government to force states to allow boys into girls' locker rooms. It's the Democrats who are on the side of the Iranian regime rooting against the Americans. It's the Democrats who are on the side of all the rogue regimes against the Americans. It's the Democrats who are propping up people like Hassan Piker who have chosen China over the United States. It's the Democrats who have their candidates institutionalize anti-Semitism such that they can't even denounce the Ayatollah of Iran because they might upset people in Dearborn, Michigan. Americans are scared of the Democrats. They fear letting the Democrats take full power. They may want some accountability for Donald Trump by allowing the Democrats to take over the House of Representatives. But at the end of the day, Americans fear the Democratic Party these days. They don't like Donald Trump. They loathe the Democrats because the Democrats are so out to lunch on not just the cultural issues of the day, but the big issues of crime and immigration and income and education and foreign affairs. The Democrats are completely out to lunch on these issues. They're held hostage by a fringe and insane progressive base that Americans do not want to restore to power. So accept the truth. The public doesn't like Donald Trump. And the public doesn't much care for Republicans, but they would positively prefer them any day of the week over a Democratic Party still driven by the insanity of the progressive left. And you Republicans in Washington can capitalize on that fear and loathing of the Democrats if you play your cards right. This hour of the program is brought to you by Van Allen Golf, ALLEN, vanallengolf.com, Van Allen Golf on Instagram. You should go to Instagram and see the pictures. Follow me while you're there at EW Erickson, Van Allen Golf on Instagram. Their putter is gorgeous. They're making more equipment. Get in on the ground floor with Van Allen Golf, vanallengolf.com. Text golf to 33777. I'll send you the link and also to the Golfer's Journal. There is a story in the Daily Mail about Kristi Noem's husband. I have known for years there were issues, and I have not really brought them up on this program. The rumors go back to Kristi Noem's time in Congress. People have wondered for years why she could be with her husband and so blatantly be having an affair or seem to be having an affair with Corey Lewandowski. There's a story today about Kristi Noem's husband's predilections and deviancies. He is a private person. His wife is in the public eye. He has chosen to not be in the public eye. And I am not going to engage in the pile-on of a troubled person like a lot of people are doing today. Do need some help. And that is a troubled family, across the board troubled family. Lewandowski has a family, Noem has a family, and it's a mess. And it's one of those things where I think people like that probably should not be in the public eye, and perhaps the public eye is a way to escape issues. But I will just leave that there. These people need prayer, not the media spotlight. Incogni wants to get you out of the spotlight online. Incogni is spelled I-N-C-O-G-N-I, I-N-C-O-G-N-I, Incogni. What Incogni does is it goes online and it finds all of the websites selling your information. In some cases, the medicine you're on. In some cases, your consumer purchases. In some cases, just your identity and that of your family. It's all available online for sale, and the data brokers sell it to anybody, including criminals. That's why you get the spam calls, the spam emails, the telemarketer calls, the data broker selling your stuff online. And Incogni sends them takedown notices and then follows up persistently to make sure they've taken down your information. You go to incogni.com/Eric, I-N-C-O-G-N-I, incogni.com/ERICK. You'll get 60% off. They have already taken my information off 324 websites with more to come. It is harder and harder to find me online thanks to Incogni. It used to be very easy. Now it's not. Incogni makes it easy for you to become more anonymous online and minimize the telemarketers, the spammers, and the scammers. Incogni.com/Eric is where you need to go. If they can't find you online, they can't harass you in the real world. So go to incogni.com/Eric, save 60%. I use them. You should too. Incogni.com/Eric.